Hello Fantasy Managers and welcome back to another video for myself, Will, and fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. In this video, we're going to be revealing my final draft for Game Week 1. Let's get into it. Before we begin, I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody who's been watching these videos during pre-season, everyone who has subscribed to the channel. The channel's absolutely blown up, so thank you so much for subscribing, thank you so much for watching, thank you so much for liking those videos. We do have a goal of 2,000 likes for this video, so if you have been enjoying the content, please do just hit that like button. I will be revealing my team each and every game week as we go through the season, so if you're interested in that and more FPL content, then please do hit that subscribe button as well. Okay, and here it is, my final draft. After all the agonizing, after all the tinkering, this is what I'm going to go into Game Week 1 with. As you can see, I made a few changes from my previous draft, including getting rid of Bruno Fernandes. I'm going to explain my reasoning behind that. Before we do get into my rationale behind those changes, I do just want to caveat it by saying this is obviously subject to team news and press conferences. If I do make wholesale changes to my team, I will do another video, but I think that's pretty unlikely. What's likely is I might make one or two final adjustments. So if you are interested in finding out my very final draft, and it could well be this, to be honest, I'm expecting it to be this, but you know, there might be changes depending on the press conferences. But if you are interested, drop me a follow on Twitter. My handle is FFH_HQ. I'll leave a link in the description for that if you're interested. Okay, just running through the team then from back to front. I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time on those players which I've already covered a lot in previous videos and have been in a lot of my previous drafts. McCarthy between the sticks then. As we've mentioned a lot in previous videos, he's got good fixtures, he's nailed on, he's only 4.5. I've gone for a 4.5 and a 4.0 in Button just to give me flexibility throughout my squad moving forward. I'm not a fan of the premium goalkeepers, as again I've touched on in previous videos, so I'm not going to go into huge detail about that. I have gone for the Southampton double up in defence. So one thing I do think is worth highlighting, if we extend the hub fixture ticket out to Game Week 8, you can see that Southampton do come out on top. So I do think that, you know, although the double up is a little bit risky, both of them coming in at 4.5 offer great value. Southampton have got great fixtures, which is partly why I've gone for it. If you watched my other previous drafts, I did have a lot of other 4.5 options in there, you know, likes of Vinagre. The reason I haven't gone for Vinagre is that he's been linked with a move to Porto, and I can just see that's, you know, a transfer waiting to happen. I still do think that he could be an option, but for me, there's just too much risking there. The other player at 4.5, which I have had in a lot of previous drafts, is Justin. Now, the reason I haven't got him is actually not because I don't think he's nailed. I actually do think he's pretty nailed. You know, a lot of people talking about that Pereira's going to come back and he's going to lose his place. Well, Justin is a player that can play across the back line. So I actually still think Justin is a really good pick. And potentially, you know, he could still find a way into my team at some point, although I'm currently not going that way. The reason I'm not going that way is just because there's been a lot of disruption in the Leicester back line. You know, the likes of Evans being out, Pereira being out. These guys are absolutely crucial to that Leicester back line. So that's the reason that I'm not going Justin, rather than I think that he's not nailed on. Now, Egan is a player that hasn't actually been in a lot of my recent drafts. If you did watch my first draft, he was in that video. Okay, part of the reason that I've gone Egan is I was looking at defenders under 5 million on a brand new point prediction tool. Now, as I mentioned in previous videos, this thing has been shown to be more predictive than spread betting odds, more predictive than expected data. So it's a really impressive tool, and I highly recommend giving it a shot if you haven't already. But as you can see that over the first 5 game weeks for defenders under 5 million, Egan is coming out on top. And it's easy to see why, actually. You know, he's nailed on in that Sheffield back line. His minutes are pretty assured. He has been a goal threat, you know, towards the back end of last season. He was getting those shots off. He was getting a lot of positive comments from Chris Wilder, and actually comments around that he should be getting more goals. So another reason that I went for Egan, if you look at his total points scored over the last 7 game weeks for all defenders, you can see that Egan comes out on top with 36 points. He's got some very impressive stats across the board as well. Sheffield United have some really good opening fixtures. Are there some options which might become better value than him? You know, I'm looking at the Leeds fullbacks in Ayling and Dallas. Yes, I think those guys could potentially offer some really good value. They don't have great fixtures opening doors. So currently I've got Egan in my side. Having him at 5.0 million means it's a relatively easy downgrade to someone like Ayling or Dallas, once Sheffield United's fixtures turn. Just touching on the overall structure of my defence, and Walker Peters, Egan and Mitchell rotate very well. So I am looking at a little bit of a rotation strategy there. It is worth saying that, I do expect Mitchell to lose his place eventually, but I am hoping, in the first few game weeks, I do think he's probably the best 4.0 option. Trent Alexander-Arnold, I'm not going to talk too much about him. For me, he's probably the most essential player in the game. I don't like using that word, essential, at all, but, I think that he is probably one of the must-own players. Doherty on the other flank, I quite like him, and as a Spurs fan, I do want to have at least one Spurs player in there. And I think he's going to be fairly attacking under Mourinho. As I mentioned in previous podcasts, Mourinho likes to play almost like a back three with Davies sitting alongside the other guys. And you look at Davies at 1 million cheaper for Spurs, and he's an option which I had considered, but I don't think he's got an attacking return for Spurs over the last 2 seasons. So really, you're just banking on those clean sheets. I'm paying the extra million for Doherty because I do think he offers some attacking threat. And at the end of the day, that's partly why Mourinho has brought him in. Mourinho has not brought him in for his defensive skills. I think he's going to be more of a right wing back than a right back. Before we do move on to Midfield and Strikeforce, a cheeky plug for our brand new app. So that is a completely free download. If you do want to use some of the member resources on there, you'll have to become a Fantasy Football Hub member. But we do have an incredible 25% off all Hub membership levels on those yearly plans. That discount ends when Game Week 1 starts. And I know so many of you have subscribed to the site. So thank you very, very much. If you're yet to do it, and you've been thinking about it, now is absolutely the time to do it. Okay, jumping on to the midfield then. Now, if you've watched some of my previous videos, you'll know that I have been a big fan of having Bruno Fernandes in my side, on my bench, and then he comes in Game Week 2 for that really nice run of fixtures that Man United have, starting with Crystal Palace at home. Now, the reason that I'm not currently doing that, and I've got Havertz in my current draft, is the one, I think Havertz is a great pick. He's been playing really well in pre-season. He comes with a fantastic record from the Bundesliga. I think that first match against Brighton is potentially really good for Chelsea. I think they're going to get quite a bit of space in behind. The second reason, it just gives me a little bit of flexibility. So if Havertz absolutely smashes it in Game Week 1, I could potentially look at doing Salah to Bruno Fernandes. That would then free up a bit more money. I could potentially look at upgrading St. Maximin as well. So there's potentially a few different options that gives me a little bit of flexibility from Game Week 2. The third and final reason for not going Bruno Fernandes in my team in Game Week 1 and going Havertz, I just want to have some fun. Potentially not the best reason to do it, but I'm excited to see Havertz play. I would much rather watch the Chelsea-Brighton match, hoping that Havertz manages to score a goal, rather than watching Crystal Palace Southampton, hoping that Mitchell can keep a clean sheet. So I actually think, having Bruno Fernandes on your bench, or potentially another Manchester United asset in the likes of Rashford, in the likes of Martial, in the likes of Greenwood, is actually probably the logical thing to do. And the reason is I can see myself having to take hits in Game Week 2 and 3 to make sure that I have the correct setup, to make sure that I bring those Manchester United and Manchester City players into my team. I'm not going to go into any detail over Salah and Aubameyang. Those two have been in every single one of my drafts. They're completely locked into my team. If you want to see my reasoning why I'm going Salah over Aubameyang as captain, I did a video on that. I'll leave a link in the description. So St. Maximin has been in a lot of my recent drafts. I'm not completely convinced by him, but Newcastle have got good fixtures. They have made some good signings that will hopefully make them better in attack. So I'm hoping that St. Maximin can offer some value at 5.5. The other player that I have been considering around that price point is Souček from West Ham. I think that he's probably the better pick. He's also coming in 0.5 cheaper. Obviously, he's currently isolated for COVID reasons, but if we do find out that he's likely to start Game Week 1, I probably will start with him instead of St. Maximin. So if you watched some of my previous videos, I've gone for Stevens on the bench. I've actually switched him to Basuma as my 4.5 option. To be honest, I don't expect him to come too close to my team, but it sounds like, according to some of the Brighton fans that watch my video, it sounds like Basuma is actually going to be more nailed on than Stevens, and he's younger, and he also offers some kind of goal threat. So that's currently why I've gone for him over Dale Stevens. Moving on to Strikeforce, I've gone for Werner and Mitrovic. I'm not going to talk too much about them. They've been in most of my recent drafts. If we just flick over to the comparison tool here, the other player that I have been strongly considering is actually Michail Antonio. Now, you can have a look at him compared to Alexander Mitrovic. It's important to say that we only have data from Mitrovic from a couple of seasons ago when he was in the Premier League. But as you can see, Antonio does kind of boss Mitrovic on a lot of the key numbers. Now, it is obviously really important to say that, that was a completely different Fulham side. Mitrovic has been the highest scorer in the Championship last season. I also think it's interesting to look at Mitrovic and how Fulham started in the last campaign. And actually, Mitrovic started really, really well a couple of seasons ago. And I don't think that is complete coincidence. I think with a side like Fulham, they're going to come up from the Premier League with a lot of energy. As the season goes on, they don't have a big squad, and that squad could get depleted. And someone like Mitrovic potentially could get starved of chances. So that's currently why I've gone Mitrovic. I think that Antonio, though, is a great pick as well. Okay, and that's it from me. If you did enjoy this video, please do like and subscribe to the channel. And good luck for Game Week 1. Bye for now.